Hello again, everyone. This is Zombie Kids Rule, and I'm back with another video today. And this video actually will have two parts. The first part is going to be a simple lockpick system or a simple way to approach lockpicking, and I'm going to show several different options. And I'm also going to refer you back to a previous video tutorial that I had that involved this little phantom looking guy, and that was about doing skill checks and adjusting those skill checks by not only like certain skills but also attributes. And so when I originally made the or was a, well, when I was originally experimenting with a lock picking thing, I built that first, and then I started playing around with, changing the results of your checks by attributes and also by, like, say, skills, like, say, lockpicking or thieving skills. So I didn't go back and actually add that into this version of the lockpicking because I'm working on a much more advanced version of lockpicking, where the actually it's not just lockpicking, it's chests in general, where the chests could be unlocked, they could be locked, they could be trapped, they could be not trapped, they could be regular mechanical traps versus magic traps. And then the system for opening those chests is going to be things like you have the option of just bashing it open. You have option for examining, or for essentially checking the chest to see if you can find a trap, and it would be skill based. It could be manually lockpicking or disarming the trap through using thieving skills, or using magic to identify traps, disarm traps, open things. So it's a much more comprehensive chest approach to chest system. So that's coming down the road. So this one again is just a simpler approach to lockpicking. I'm going to show you two ways: one that does not incorporate using someone's attributes to change the results, and one that does. And then the second part will be essentially when I'm doing this lockpicking, you have the possibility of being poisoned. And so there's another piece that says, hey, how do I remove poison? And there's also a visual representation on the map to remind you that you're poisoned. So let me show you the first part, which is the simple lockpicking portion. And actually, first, just as a highlight, if you haven't watched this other video for the skill checks, this is what it's doing. So skill check, Reed is using their thief skill for lockpicking, and then it says you rolled a 23. So that's the first roll. Your luck bonus, so it's going to give you a bonus based on your luck, is 6. And then your thief skill bonus, so based on your thief skill, gives you a bonus of 15. Your end result, so adding your luck, your thief skills, and thief skill bonuses, your final roll is a 44, and then it tells you your skill check failed or succeeded. And so that whole other tutorial was all about that system, which could easily have been incorporated into these treasure chests. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that I have no items. All right, so I have no lockpicks, and I'm going to go over here to this lady, and she's going to say, hello, Reed, you don't need my help, so go away. You don't need anything. All right, so now I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to get me some lockpicks. So I found 5 lockpicks. Now, this chest and this chest don't use the attribute at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on it. The chest is locked. Would you like to try to pick the lock? No. And then if I go back, chest is locked. Yes. You rolled a 43. You triggered a poison trap, so I take 50 damage, and the chest is still locked. Well, crap. Now you see a picture of Reed appeared, and it's kind of flashing with like green nausea stuff. That's showing me I'm poisoned. Now I'm going to go over here. The nun says, oh, you've been poisoned. I can heal you. Now she takes that poison away. Now I will say that poor Michelle is still poisoned, because I only tested this to remove the poison from Reed. So poor Michelle is still poisoned. Let's go back here and try this again. Chest is locked. Yes, I want to unlock it. I rolled a 32. That's not good. I triggered the poison trap again, and the chest is still locked. So now I'm poisoned again. And if I go here, you'll see that Reed is poisoned. So let's go get rid of it. I healed. Yay, Reed's not poisoned anymore. But Poor Michelle's going to die. And I rolled a 7. That's even worse. And it broke my lockpick. So now I've lost a lockpick. And when I go in to items, I had 5 when I got them from the treasure chest. Now I only have 4. Well, I lost a lockpick. This is a string of very bad luck. So I'm going to try again. 23. I broke another lockpick. There we go. Down to 3. Let's try it again. I got a 16. I broke another lockpick. Boy, this is the worst I've ever seen. Oops. There we go. Down to 2. And I got a 25, which I triggered a poison trap. The chest is still locked. This is the worst I have ever had in testing this. I got a 5. I broke another lockpick. Wow. Try it again. Oh, finally, I got a 61. I still triggered a poison trap, but I also should have opened, yes, there, the treasure. So I did trigger the trap, but it also opened. Okay, so now let's go get rid of him. All right, this isn't good because now I'm down to 1 lockpick left. So let's see. I won't even be able to test all these treasures. Oh, okay, so I got an 88 on this one, and that means I just opened it, no trap, didn't trigger a trap. I got my coins. Okay, good. Now this chest is the one that also incorporates the luck attribute. So I'm going to try it. Chest is locked. Oh, good. I got 175. So I did change the range too when I built this one. And so I got my coins and I didn't get poisoned. So that's the basic functionality. However, I do want to show one more thing, which I forgot to do. So I'll start the test again. And first, I should have shown what happens when you try to open a chest. The chest is locked. Would you like to try to pick it? Yes. You need a lockpick for this. And just double check, make sure I did it on all of them like that. Chest is locked. Would you like to try to pick the lock? Yes. You need a lockpick. So I don't have any lockpicks, right? And I have to go get my lockpicks first. Okay, so that's the functionality. And as I said, I would definitely check out this tutorial because this is going to show you how to change the skill check using, say, a specific skill like lockpicking and an attribute like, say, luck. So I would say check that other tutorial out. Now this treasure chest here is just a very simple treasure chest to give the lockpicks. That's all it is. It's a standard treasure chest where you just as I've shown before, if you right click on a box or on a square and you go quick event creation and treasure, right, it automatically does this, which in theory you could change if you wanted to, if you didn't like that standard one. And once you start it, right, you can then just go into it and change it. It gives you the sound effect. It gives you the animation. It turns the self switch A on to change pages so that now it's open and it's done. And then it's doing the gold, and then it tells you. So you just change this portion here, right? So you just change this, and that's all I did was change that to give lockpicks, right? So I needed to have lockpicks, and then it says you have lockpicks. And so in my database, I just simply made a very simple item for lockpick, right? So gave it a name lockpick, gave it an icon, didn't even bother to do description. You could certainly do that. It's a regular item. It is consumable, right? So that probably shouldn't be consumable because it's not actually going away unless you break your lockpick. So, and we're not using it. So essentially, this is probably set up wrong because this really should be a no, and you're not going to use it. You are not going to really use it outside of the treasure chests. So actually, I'm just going to put never there, and the scope is really none. And don't have to worry about any of this other stuff, right? So I'm going to go ahead and apply that, and then just to make sure that that doesn't screw up anything, which it shouldn't, I'm going to go ahead and change it. We'll go check it. Chest is locked. Do you want to try it? Yeah. So it still lets you use the lockpicks with the way I changed it. Yeah. And the let's just double check items. Yep, 4 lockpicks. So it's still so the changes that I made in the database to basically make it non-consumable. You're never using it outside of an actual treasure chest event. You're not. It's not. It doesn't have a scope. So that's probably the better way to set that up. Like I said, I built this quite a long time ago. So treasure chest giving you the lockpicks that you need, and then the first treasure chest is it's not terribly complicated. It's similar to what you've seen in previous tutorials. So I started with a regular treasure chest to get the animations down, and action button, so you click on it. The first thing it does is it says this chest is locked. Would you like to try and pick the lock? And then it presents your choices, yes or no. Let's do no first. So when yes, and we have all these different choices, we go all the way down to when no, it just ends, right? It just ends. However, when yes, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to say if, conditional branch, if party has lockpick, right? And this is going to be an else branch, create an else branch, because this is saying if the party has a lockpick. But when we scroll all the way down to the bottom, this is the else, then you need a lockpick for this. So if you don't have a lockpick, then the else branch will trigger and say you need a lockpick for this. So if party has a lockpick, and you say, well, where did you get that? So let's edit this. So that's page 4 of the conditional branch choice. And one of the things is items. So you can pick item, and it says based on whether or not the party has a particular item. So you can pick anything you want that you have built into your database. And so that's how you do the conditional branch if the party has a specific item or a specific weapon or armor, whatever, then you're going to do a certain thing. And what it's doing is it's saying, okay, first thing, I'm going to do a control variable of 1 to 100. This is going to be my random lockpick result. And then it's going to go through. So the only other thing besides with this if conditional branch is the else, right? So you either have a lockpick or you don't. But if you do have a lockpick, then it randomly determines a number between 0 and 100. Okay, and that actually shouldn't be that way, because this says if random number is greater than or equal to 1, right? It's possible that it could be a 0. Which would be problematic because there's no option for a 0. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that now and say this will be a 1. Okay, so it's going to do a random number between 1 and 100. If the random number is greater than or equal to 1, but less than and equal to 24, because there's 2 if statements, there's 2 conditional statements. And so basically if it's 1 to 24, it's going to reduce our lockpicks by 1, because essentially we broke the lockpick. And so it's going to tell us again, you rolled a variable 1. It's going to tell us what we actually rolled, so that for testing purposes, I know that it's doing what I told it to do. I want to see if it's a number between 1, if it's 1 to 24, it better be doing this and breaking the lockpick. And then it plays a sound effect to actually break the lockpick. But then the next portion is if the 1 to 100 result is a 25 to 49, so greater than or equal to 25, less than or equal to 49, so 20 to 49, then it is going to say, this is what you rolled, skill check. You rolled a variable 1, which is that 1 to 100, and then it tells you what happened. For this range, you trigger a poison trap, you take damage, and you have a sound effects of poison, blah, but the chest is still locked. So you're changing the HP of the entire party, so you're taking 50 points away, and you're allowing death. So the trap can actually kill the party, right? So when you're in here and you're changing like HP, you're changing it for the party or characters, and you're decreasing it by either a constant value or a variable, right? You could randomly determine how many hit points they lose, right? You could do that. But you check off the box allow death, that means that the trap can kill your party. So So this is that portion, right? It tells you what you rolled. It's a poison trap. You take 50 damage. It plays a sound effect. It reduces the party's hit points by 50, which could kill them. And then it says, hey, the chest is still locked. You didn't actually succeed. And then it changes the state of the entire party to add poison. So again, change state is an option, and party or character, and then add, you're adding a state instead of removing it, and you're adding the state of poison. And then that ends, right? So essentially in this number range, you got poisoned, you triggered a trap, you got poisoned, and you didn't open the treasure chest. Now, perhaps in a real game, you might not want to trigger this twice, right? Once a trap's been triggered, you might say, well, okay, it can't be triggered again. Or if in your world it logically makes sense that traps can be reset automatically, then fine. So now the next result, if it's 50 to 74, so it's greater than or equal to 50, less than or equal to 74, then it's going to tell you what your roll was, 50 to 74, some number. You triggered a poison trap, and you took damage, so it plays the poison sound effect. It waits basically 2 seconds. It takes away, changes the hit point of the entire party, allowing death. And then it's going to open the treasure chest, right? Because even though you got poisoned, even though you triggered the trap, it actually does open the chest. So it plays the sound effects. This is the opening animation, that comes with the default chest that you can just quickly use. Control self switch A is turned on, so it can change the page, right? So then the chest stays open and nothing else happens. You can't interact with it. It increases your gold because that's what I just set it up to give you. And then it tells you what it did. The chest opens and you get 25 gold, but it's going to change the state of poisoning the entire party, right? Because again, in this number range, you triggered the poison trap. And then the last frame, the last window, I guess, is if it's greater than or equal to 75. So there's no two if statements. It's just if it's greater than or equal to 75. It's going to play the sound effect. It's going to open the chest. It's going to turn the self switch A on. It's going to give you the gold. It's going to tell you rolled this, so 75 to 100. Chest opens. You got your gold, and that would be the end. And then, of course, the else branch we already talked about, where if you didn't have a lockpick, it would tell you. And then if you chose not to open it, it just ends, and it leaves the chest open. I'm sorry, it leaves the chest closed. So that is essentially the content for that chest, which basically says, hey, when you try to open it, you have 4 possibilities. You either break your lockpick and nothing else happens. You get poisoned and take damage and the chest doesn't open. You get poisoned, you take damage, but the chest does open, or you just completely open it and no triggering the trap, and you're good to go. Essentially, we're going to go ahead and we'll apply those changes. So this treasure chest is exactly the same. So I built 2 that were exactly the same. And then this treasure chest was basically, I updated it. I took the other chest and I updated it to include that modifying the roll, your skill check, by Reed's luck. Okay, and I went into in detail how to do that on the previous tutorial for skill checks. And I added the part about, like, say, a thief skill. This just does the attribute of luck. So it's the same start. It says, hey, the chest is locked. Do you want to open it? If you say no, then all the way down here, it just ends. And then at the beginning, if you say yes, the first thing it does is if party has lockpick. And if you don't, it does the else branch. You need a lockpick. And then if you do have a lockpick, it's going to do 3 variables. One is the random roll, and this time I did 1 to 200 instead of 1 to 100. I also have a variable luck modifier is equal to the luck of Reed. So again, I would suggest you go to that other tutorial, but when you're doing a control variable, you can set it to game data, and part of the game data you can choose is actor data, and you can pick an actor and you can pick like their luck or their an attribute or what have you. So all that is possible. And then this other random, essentially this is adding the random number 1 to 200 to you're adding the luck modifier to that result. And so based on whatever Reed's luck is. And this is different from the skill check one where I actually reduced the luck modifier to make it lower. I divided it by something else. But anyway, this one is just blatantly taking Reed's luck and incorporating it. But it goes to 1 to 200 instead, so there's larger ranges of results. So then it just goes into the if the random result is 1 to 49, just like the last one, then you break your lockpick. It takes a lockpick away, it tells you what your roll is, says you broke your lockpick, and it plays the sound effect. And this is why the number ranges are different from the previous treasure chest. And then the second range is if it's 50 to 99. And then it's the same as the previous chest. It tells you what you rolled, you trigger the poison trap and you take damage, plays the sound effect, changes the HP of the entire party, allows death. It tells you the chest is still locked, and it poisons the party. You add the change state. And you notice we don't have to do any of that fancy stuff down here, because what we did was when we first did the random number 1 to 200, then we take the luck of Reed and we add it to that. So when we start doing the check here, right, that number is already the luck modifier's already been added to it. You just add it once. So if I roll a 50 and Reed's luck is 35, then it's going to end up being an 85, and so I'd be in this frame down here. Okay, so you do it once up here, and then you check what the results are. And then in this range from 100 to 149, it's the one where it tells you what you did. You trigger the trap, but you actually open the chest. So you take poison damage, plays the sound effect, waits 2 seconds, takes away the hit points. Plays the opening of the chest, it shows the animation, control switch A, adds the gold, and then it tells you what happened, and then it poisons the party. And then the last range, again, 150 or higher, and so basically the highest number would be 200 plus the luck of Reed, whatever Reed's luck is, and then it just simply opens the chest, does the sound effects, the animations, the control cell switch A, gives you the gold, tells you what you actually rolled, and then says chest open and gives you the money. And so essentially the chests are the same. I just incorporated modifying the random roll by Reed's luck. And again, what I would really do is I would use this option down here, and I would also add a thieving skill or a lockpicking skill, and the attribute luck wouldn't be the entire luck, like, because numbers get very high. It would actually be a small percentage of it. I would divide Reed's luck by 4, for instance, and that way it would be less of an impact. So that's the first part, and how you can do a simple lockpicking system where you're essentially randomly rolling, and depending on what they get, 4 results. They break their lockpick and the chest stays closed. They trigger a trap and the chest stays locked. They trigger a trap and the chest opens, or they just outright open the chest and don't trigger anything. And that's a fairly simple lockpick option. You have to create a lockpick in your database, and that's pretty much all it does. And you have to make sure they have some lockpicks, and you just go through it from there. Now, so that's going to be the end of part 1. And then the next part, I'll show you this part over here where the nun, the little mysterious nun, heals you of your poisoning, so you can continue on. And also this portion up here, which is displaying the picture that shows the sick party member. And in theory, you would show all your party members, but I just tested one to just make sure I knew how the functionality worked. So anyway, I hope this helps. There are some other tutorials out there on lockpicking. I've seen a number of them, and so there are other things you can find out there. I hope this helps, and then stay tuned for part two. And then in the future, I'll get that much more comprehensive chess system, again, where you have magic and thieving skills and just outright brute force of breaking into something, and then all your other options, examining and casting spells and what have you, and then coupling that with like random treasure and stuff like that. So anyway, I hope this helps. Please look at my previous videos if they help for your journey with RPG Maker MZ, and most of this should work with MV as well. Very, very few changes between the two. And I'm glad you found my channel. And if these are helpful, please like, subscribe, get notifications, leave comments, and let me know. And similarly, if you have any requests for things, you can always leave them in the comments. And if I know how to do it, I'll be happy to share. And if I don't, I'm still learning, and I'm actively trying to build different things before I start working on a game. I want to build test functionality first before I actually start incorporating things into a game. So thank you very much, folks. Hope you have a wonderful day. And in the meantime, happy gaming and happy game developing. And I'll see you all later.